Any other questions?
Hey, Jake, you mentioned a couple times jazz. I don't know if this is ukulele players and jazz players. You ever play that?
You know, to me, jazz is really, it's like classical music in the sense where to be a jazz player, you have to learn the repertoire. You have to learn the standards. You know, you have to understand the history of the music, you know, where it came from. So, you know, there are people that always think that, oh, jazz is like, you know, playing things like, you know, playing these chords or these voicings, you know, these more complex harmonies, or maybe they think it's songs like, you know, playing the, you know, that's not jazz. You know, I'm playing chords right now. I'm playing notes, right? You could take, you know, I used to cover like you know, some more complex tunes like, you know, like Chick Corea's Spain. Play the notes, you can play the songs.
You can play it.
But that's it. But really, that's not jazz. That's not what jazz is. You know, because you can take someone like Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong can play the C major scale, and it'll be jazz. You know, it's not what you play. You know, it's not the notes that you play. It's not the songs that you play. It's how you play it. You know, that's why a lot of these great jazz artists, these musicians, you know, a lot of the great ones, they weren't necessarily playing jazz, because like Miles Davis, he created the music. Before he was doing, you know, kind of blue, nobody was doing that. You know, he created it. So to him, he wasn't playing jazz. You know, he was expressing something that was very honest and very true to the times, and to, you know, just what he was going through, his life. You know, the people around, they created a style, they created a sound, they created it was, you know, it was like I mean, they made a statement with their music. You know, and to me, that's what jazz is. You know, I mean, recently I've been playing and touring with a lot of jazz artists. I mean, people that were my heroes. You know, recently I just did a thing with I got to play with Margaret Mulligan, who has always been one of my favorites. You know, I mean, he's been around and did everything. You know, guys like him. I got to do a little jam with Earl Cruz on a jazz cruise, actually, along with Dave Codd and Gerald Albright, you know, all of these people. But you know, when you talk to them about jazz, you know, like Marcus Miller that night, he was playing tunes like Billie Jean, you know, and he's just laying it down. You know, he's just laying it down as a basis. You know, a lot of people think, you know, his background is all jazz, but you know, but he has such a great understanding of music that he can go from playing giant steps to doing one of the Bach inventions. You know, and he'll slap those notes, you know, on the Bach invention and do something really cool with it. So it's not, but anything that he plays, you would never say that that's not jazz, because, you know, again, it's really just an expression. You know, I think it was Louis Armstrong. Was it Louis Armstrong? I think it was Louis Armstrong who said that, you know, if you have to ask what jazz is, then you'll never understand what it is, because it's not something that you can learn. It's something that you just do. It's something that you just do, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of music. You know,
I'm not a big fan of genres and categorizing music. I just believe that, I've always believed that there's just two kinds of music. You know? There's music that you like and music that maybe you don't really care for, or you rather not listen to. You know, maybe some people say good music and bad music, however you want to say it. But you know, but music is just an expression. You know, Jimi Hendrix. When I think of like Jimi Hendrix, I don't think of him as a rock and roll, you know, as a blues rock and roll guitarist. You know, he was just somebody who could pick up an instrument and just take something that he felt inside of himself, and just express that. I mean, when I watch him play, when I watch videos of him playing, I don't even see the guitar. I just see this guy up on stage. It's just all this music is just pouring out of his body. You know, I mean, that's what I see when I look at someone like Hendrix. You know, or not even musicians. You know, it could be people like Bruce Lee, or Michael Jordan was one of my heroes. You know, I mean, not because he played the ukulele, but because he just could express himself in a way that inspired people. You know, and I really think that you know, whether you're playing classical music, jazz, blues, roll, bluegrass, you know, bossa nova, whatever it is, again, the best musicians don't think of themselves as they're playing that kind of music. The best musicians are just playing what they know and what comes to them naturally. And you know, and that's the beauty of it. You know, when you that's why it's hard. You know, like it's harder for musicians now to really get, because there's never going to be another Miles Davis. You know, there are going to be millions of people that sound like Miles Davis or try to mimic what he did, but there's never ever going to be another Miles Davis, because Miles Davis created that sound. You know, he pioneered that. You know, I was just having a conversation with my friend Mitch about this the other night. You know, and that's why, like, when you think of all the jazz greats, you know, who do you think of? You think of all the guys, you know, who basically passed on already, or maybe they're still alive, but they're older. You know, they're a lot older. They're aged, and you know, and we appreciate the legacy that they left behind. But until someone else comes along and creates something new again, it's hard. You know, I mean, people in jazz, you know, they're always going to be compared to, oh, he's the next blah, he's the next so and so, he's the next so and so. You know, it's tough, and there are brilliant musicians who, you know, like guys like one of my favorites is Pat Metheny. You know, he is such a phenomenal musician. You know, he played with all the greats. He played with all the greats, but at the same time, he created a new sound. You know, he created a new sound himself. You know, by just being who he is. You know, by just expressing himself. You know, another really great you know, I guess a younger, you know, one of the younger players from this, you know, like someone like Jeff Coffin, you know, who's an amazing straight ahead jazz player. You know, he's so great, you know. But then you look at guys like Michael Brecker, who basically changed the instrument, redefined the instrument. You know, there's nothing that people are doing today that he hasn't really done, or at least hinted on, you know, or touched upon. You know, so that's why to me, categories or genres of music is not necessary. You know, that was just created so that you can find it in the record store.